Greetings. Welcome to the Bible Unbound podcast, the book of Revelation. Today we're going to begin our study into the second trumpet of God. John's third vision, the second trumpet, Revelation 8 and 9. The second angel blew his trumpet, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood. A third of the living creatures in the sea died. A third of the ships were destroyed. So the Exodus motif is taken up once again in terms of John's vision. We see that the Lord said, "By this you shall know that I am the Lord. Behold, with the staff that's in my hand, the fish in the Nile will die." And so that's very similar to what John is seeing here. The instrument of judgment, in this case, is the mountain ablaze with fire. The object of the judgment is the sea. And then thirdly, the result of the judgment is exactly what we just read in Revelation 8 and verse 9. A third of the sea became blood, a third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. So there'll be some correspondence in these judgments to events in the natural world, terrible tsunamis, hurricanes, shipwrecks, cities that are now underwater ghost cities, that sort of thing. But we have to look deeper than these direct correspondence between what John is describing and events on the earth. John is clearly signaling things that are more cosmic in scope, apparent in the language. He's using symbolic references. He shows that he's not peeling an apple, but rather an onion. The more we peel, the deeper it gets. So, for example, this first symbol, which is a mountain ablaze with fire, this mountain is then cast into the sea from heaven. This is symbolic language that means something more than just floods, tsunamis, hurricanes, corresponding natural events. So we have to look elsewhere in Scripture. How does God use mountain terminology, especially if it's a blazing mountain? Well, in the first place, notice John's really not saying he saw a mountain. Rather, he saw what was like a great mountain. He's dealing with symbolism, not literalism. It's used 61 times, this phrase, like unto, 61 times in the book of Revelation. And so John, who is this deep Old Testament scholar, has access to all this Old Testament language. When he's talking about a great mountain or something like a great mountain, fire thrown into the sea, he must be referencing something deeper than that which comes originally to mind. Jeremiah 51:25, these are the words of God to Babylon. "I am against you, O destroying mountain. I will make you a burned out mountain." Later he says, "Thus to Babylon you will sink because of the judgments I'm bringing upon you." That's similar to John's language. So John is seeing perhaps some kind of a resurrected Babylon? After all, Babylon ceased to exist in about 539 BC. Here John's dealing with Babylon again, at least if Jeremiah 51 is the referent to which John is seeing in his vision. In fact, John devotes 2 entire chapters later on in the book of Revelation to the subject of Babylon, which he describes as a giant millstone being thrown into the sea. So it's very, very similar to John's vision in the second trumpet. So John's resurrected Babylon in the book of Revelation takes on the meaning of a dominant world system. For John, it was immediately epitomized in the city of Rome, the Roman Empire. But there's more to it. He seems to be gripped with a broader global scope, a global Babylon. Revelation 18:2, fallen is Babylon the Great. She's become a dwelling place for demons, unclean spirits, unclean birds, every detestable beast. Obviously, it's a global empire he sees. This mountain being cast into the sea. So this global Babylon is described further as all nations drunk with passion, sexual immorality. All the kings of the earth have committed immorality. The merchants have grown rich from the power of luxurious living. All this described in the 17th and 18th chapter. So John is just consequently putting together this idea of a burning mountain being cast into the sea with a very extensive kingdom picture that we'll get to again, chapter 17 and 18. In the meantime, what we see first is earthly Babylon. That's Jeremiah, the true second great enemy of the nation of Israel. Secondly, for John, it was Rome. And then finally, his vision expands to the entire global world system in, again, Revelation 17 and 18. So destructive fire in the Bible is always used to describe either judgment or purification. The fact that this mountain was on fire is symbolic that there's judgment occurring with respect to this mountain. What about the symbolic use of the sea? Something like a great mountain burning with fire was cast or thrown into the sea. What is the biblical symbolic use of the sea? Well, it's actually pretty consistent. The basic idea is that it's a mystery. It's a place where Leviathan lived, where ships and sailors go to die, a place of fear, torment, and punishment. Jesus said himself, it's better if a millstone was tied around a man's neck and he was cast into the sea. Isaiah 57:20, the wicked are like the tossing of the sea. Revelation 17:15, the angel said, the waters that you saw are peoples and multitudes, nations and language. And even Jude says, wild waves of the sea casting the foam of their own shame. Biblically, the sea is associated with the abyss, scary place, deep place, dark place. And that's why Revelation 21, there is no sea in the new heavens and the new earth. Strange, one of the first things John notices about the new heavens and the new earth. So the second trumpet is probably symbolizing the demise of cultures. It can happen suddenly, dramatically, or it can happen slowly and painfully. We have in our own world history a very lengthy description of this apparent image of the seventh, or rather the second trumpet, because there's a long list of the demise of cultures and civilizations, a very long list. And if that's what John's second trumpet is declaring, it's going to be pretty common to see in world history the demise of these ancient and even up to the modern day, the collapse. For example, the Hittites in what we call Turkey now, they're gone. The Minoans were washed into the sea. Sumer, where we got the most ancient writings, Sumerian Kings List. It's where Ur the Chaldees, where Abraham was from, but the Sumerian kingdom and empire is gone, as is the Assyrian, once great and mighty, and the Trojans in Troy. They were gone. They are gone. Carthage, Hannibal drove his elephants over the Alps and into Italy, and gone was mighty Carthage. Egypt, once ancient tech and sciences, became the breadbasket of the Romans. Phoenicians, the great mariners, gone. About 300 BC, the Mayan Empire basically absorbed into the encroaching jungle, and we don't know much more about how that demise occurred. Further, there's Inca, and then there's the Aztecs, gone. And then along with them would be the mighty Indus region, this area around southern India. The Anasazi, right here around the Four Corners regions of America, where are they? We're the Mongols and the Moorish, they're gone. Likewise, the Ottoman Empire, not too awful long ago, gone. As is the modern Soviet, 1991, gone. All of them once mighty empires. But it all anticipates a vision John is yet to have in chapters 17 and 18. This is a preview of it, the fall of Mystery Babylon, a mighty ancient enemy of the people of God, and as it is, the future enemy of the people of God, as we're going to see. But for a moment, let's take a trip back in our memories to ancient Babylon for a very informative an interesting additional touch to this whole idea of mountain. In Daniel chapter 2, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon has a vision of a composite man, head of gold, chest of silver, then bronze, and eventually iron. These were kingdoms, successive kingdoms that experienced, as we're seeing, the demise of their civilization, pictured by the rock, who is Christ himself, who is foretold to be the one who destroys those kingdoms and establishes his own. So again, second trumpet probably aims at cosmic battle, warfare, at what Augustine called the city of man and its destruction. So the second trumpet seems to be indicating that very thing. We'll get the full picture, Revelation 17 and 18. In the meantime, Psalm 46 reads, "Therefore we will not fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea," in the midst of all this broiling and destruction. The people of God are safe. They're situated in a kingdom that shall not be shaken. When we get to Revelation 17 and 18, we'll see that in great detail. So until that time, thank you once again for joining us here on the Bible Unbound podcast, the book of Revelation. We hope you have a very blessed day in the Lord, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.